So yesterday I did a video showing how to do some basic merging between two images, between the past and the present. I thought today I'd look at some of the more advanced features within Photoshop and where we've got discrepancy between the past and the present in terms of the images. And how can we compensate for that using the warp features within Photoshop? So let's dig into Photoshop now. This is the old postcard that I'm looking to rephotograph. And I've gone through all the process, how to prepare the old image, how to prepare the new image in my previous video. So I'm not going to go through that here. So this is the old, and I'm going to show you some of the mistakes that I've made along the way here. And this is the new, and two mistakes I made. One, I didn't shoot this photograph wide enough. You can see that when I've done the transform process, then I've lost a whole section of this photograph. But I can work within this. The other thing, the other aspect I mentioned in one of my other videos is when you're on site, take 7 or 8 photographs and each time move a small amount because it's extremely difficult to get the right perspective when you're actually on site. And just moving 1 to 2 feet in X, Y will make a big difference in the alignment. And what we can see in this image is if you look at the center, in fact, I'm going to bring a guide. If you don't know how to use the guides, just go over to your rulers at the side, click, bring that along. I'm going to put this in the center of the street there. It's round about there. Compare that to the postcard. And again, this is just evidence that my positioning was wrong. I should have taken another image, maybe 1 or 2 feet over to the left, and I'd have a much better perspective here. So if I want to use these two, I've got to look at how can I manipulate the images, and I typically manipulate the old image. And of course, Photoshop has so many amazing capabilities that obviously there's a way in which we can do this. And that's using the perspective warp feature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. I want to set some reference marks so I know where I'm adjusting my image to. I've got this center line as the guide. Let me switch off this, and I've enabled the pencil tool. The pencil tool is just underneath the brush tool. It's there. And I'm going to paint in red just so it's clearly visible, the alignment. So here I'm going to draw, just hold the shift key down, draw a straight line. So I want some reference points, some approximate reference points. And I've created this on a new layer. I should have mentioned that this is a new layer, as obviously I don't intend to keep that. So again, if we go back and look at our postcard, this is what we need to move the image to. So I'm going to select the postcard, go up into Edit and Perspective Warp. Now I know this section of the building here is good. So this is going to become an anchor point for me. So I release that. Now I'm going to go over to this section here, this side of the road, and you'll see what happens is that it changes to a thick blue line. Those are going to combine there. Now I need to drag this point down, following the buildings, the alignment of the buildings. Okay, I want to take this to the end there. Now, because I don't see the top of the building here, I'm using the top of the windows here to try to look at the perspective. Now, one of the things that I do like to do, you can use the arrow keys here. Once you've selected a point, you can use the arrow keys up and down, left and right to get your positioning good. So I'm going to work with that. Now I want to do the left-hand side of the street. So the same thing, draw it around a rectangle around the area you want to modify, release it, and now drag those points. And we again have the same issue that we can't see the top of the buildings. So I'm using the lintel that just above the windows there as my reference, and bring these in. And here I'm using the pavement to look at the perspective. So I think we're good there. So now that we've got the perspective for the old postcard set, we go up here, we're going to warp. Press warp. Now we can move these points. And we need to move them to align with the red. Approximately align with the red. Now there's going to be distortion in the image, but we're going to compensate for that later. So again, using the up and down key, and I'm looking at the image here to try to limit the distortion that we have. Now, this is something you could spend half an hour doing. Obviously, I don't intend to spend half an hour on the video here. You wouldn't stay with me for that. I just want to show you the process. Doing the fine manipulation, the fine tuning is something that takes much longer. So again, using the arrow keys. And again, I want to try to limit the distortion. You don't have to be perfect here. You're not going to be perfect here. But that looks so much better. Once we've done, press the accept key. And now we can see that the center line, we've got that fairly well aligned. Now I can just go through, I can remove this now. I don't need the guides anymore. On my old, the mask, B for the brush. Now I need to change this from the pencil back to the brush tool. D for default, make sure you have a black. And on the mask, and again, I'm doing this very quickly. You're going to take much longer on your actual image. So, okay. Now we can see we have distortion within the center of the image here. So let's go back to the postcard, and this is where we're going to go from the perspective warp to the puppet warp. And here again, we're going to set some anchor points. I don't want any of this to move. Set a number of anchor points around the image. What I do want to move is this section here. So now I've set a point. I can drag this, set another one at its feet, drag this across. Same with the lady here. I want to drag her over. Again, you can take 15-20 minutes doing the fine-tuning of this, but I just wanted to show you the process here. So let's say we're good with that. Accept. And I would say I would proceed with that. Again, I would do a lot more work on this, but this just shows you how using the warp tools, we can really make a big difference in the alignment between the past and the present. So that's it for today's video. Again, I hope you enjoyed that. Please do give me a like, subscribe. I'll be doing more videos in future. And I didn't mention at the start, but again, this is from the beautiful town of Annecy. I'm not sponsored by Annecy. I would like to have an exhibition in Annecy. So if anybody listening has influence, please contact me. Okay, I'll be with you in a future video. Goodbye.